Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. I'm your host, Darci Smith, also known as Career Coach Darci. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onomy. With Darci. Hey, Raimee. How's it going?
What's up? How are you, Darci? How was your weekend?
Good. I was in LA because we were podcasting and we had a full day of podcasting on Friday. And then I got to hang out with my friends, which was great. We actually went to this new bar. Well, it's not a new bar, but it was a new bar for me. And the best part about it was I was talking to my boyfriend about this. I felt like I was with the people that I was supposed to be with. It was all people over the age of 60. And there was a cover band.
That's not where I was expecting that to go, but okay, amazing.
Right. And there's a cover band, and the cover band was playing things like Love Shack is a little love place.
Yeah, that's such a jam.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, this is where I belong. And then I go to like another bar that has like all these 20 somethings, and I'm like,
No.
one of the girls was being dragged out, like her feet, she couldn't even walk. She was so drunk. And I was like, I think I am now an adult. Like, I think I'm past that.
Like I'm so past that. Which was the bar? I want to know the cool bar that you liked. Where was that? You don't have to say the name because we don't want to.
Oh yeah, we don't want to like have everyone go there. No, just kidding.
Oh.
No, it's actually I don't care. It's in Redondo Beach, and it's on the pier in Redondo, which I feel like isn't that popular. Usually you go to like Hermosa Beach or Manhattan.
Yeah.
So Redondo Beach, there's a bar called Starboard, and
Cool.
it's like upstairs. They have a cover band, and they actually had a huge banner that said like best dance party in the South Bay, and I believe it. It was rocking. And then we went to, or we tried to go to this place called Naja's, which is, they had like a No Doubt cover band playing.
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, all right, this place rocks.
Yeah, I've never really been out in Redondo area, but it looks like a nice place.
Right? It was a nice day. It was great. I absolutely love, like, I've been posting on my Instagram lately of just how I've been really focused on trying to enjoy the times that are not work times. Because I feel like with my life, like everything kind of gets blended into one, like everything is work at some point. But I've really been focused on not really posting and stuff on the weekends when I'm out, and I'll kind of do maybe a recap or something.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's really helped me mentally.
No, I get that. I saw you post about just like having those stronger boundaries for the weekend. And I think I'm really bad about that. And I've been trying to do that as well. So I love how you do like the weekend recap, because it's cool for me. Like on Sunday night, I'm like, oh, look, Darci had a fun weekend. But you weren't posting about it in the moment, like taking away from it. So.
Right. Yeah. No, I've seen other people do that, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice. And it just is better. And I don't really like to be on my phone, like with my friends. And it's different when all of your friends are also influencers. Then it makes sense because everyone's like creating content, and that's kind of just work at that point.
Yeah.
But you know, the people I was hanging out with, it's not so much. But yeah, I had a great time. And then it was so nice to be home because I was gone from like Thursday to Tuesday. My best friend had a baby, and so I got to go visit her, which was really exciting. It's so funny. I sent a photo of like me holding the baby to my boyfriend. I'm like, how does this make you feel? And he's like, he was like, I don't know if it's like all the commercials I've been seeing on TV lately, but for some reason I don't hate that photo. Because there's been like a lot of like kids commercials and like adoption commercials during the Dodger games specifically.
Oh, wow,
when we watch them.
Inception.
So he's like,
inceptioning you.
I know. I was like, they're getting you, babe. They're getting you. So I don't know. Maybe he'll be on the baby train soon, but we still are on like the 5-year.
Right. I mean, I could see you being like the coolest mom when that happens, if that happens.
Thanks. So. If I'm blessed to have a baby. Speaking of babies, the amazing mom Mal was it last week that she was on? Yeah. That episode, everyone's been like DMing me. They really enjoyed it. I think the biggest thing was just her being so open and sharing everything about the process, because being a money mentor and having that, she talked a lot about what it was like focusing on getting pregnant and actually having the finances to set herself up for success when the baby does come. So found it pretty interesting. I really liked it.
I love what she said too about how like personal finance really is for everyone. Like I saw that clip where she was just saying it might take time to figure it out, but you can get yourself to a place that feels like comfortable. And I felt inspired by that, because my finances are the one thing that I'm like, they, they could be better.
Yeah,
But great episode.
I talked to a girl today. I was recruiting her for my recruiting business. And so I was talking to her just about her career journey. And she said, she was like, I got a divorce and I had no idea what to do with money.
Hmm.
Like he handled everything. And she said, she was like, I felt dumb. Like I
Yeah.
felt like I had the opportunity to teach myself these things and I chose not to. So now she's completely pivoted from her previous career and she's now a financial planner that helps
Wow.
other women that are divorced and or widowed to help with their finances. So I was like, wow, what a full circle experience.
That's so cool. Wow. Good
Yeah.
for her. That's amazing. And you're helping place her in a new role?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm just kind of talking with her about, she's like super happy at her job, but I'm just talking with her about what could be next for her. So,
Yeah.
just part of the things I love doing. But, speaking of jobs, I was posting on my Instagram about PTO and stuff like that. I was curious if you did that poll I posted. So I put a poll up that said, would you rather? And it was 2 weeks of, PTO, but you worked fully remote, or it was you had unlimited PTO but you were in office. Which
Yes.
one did you
I
pick?
did vote in the poll, and I personally, I could never go back to an office full time if it was like a real office. I
Mm-hmm.
work semi in production now, and if I'm on set or doing something like that, I don't mind if that's every day. But like for me, I voted for 2 weeks PTO and fully remote because I like to have that flexibility. And I think ultimately, if I was in like a more corporate role, which my job is startup, so it's different. But if I was in
Mm-hmm.
a corporate role, I would want to be 100% remote. But I did like how you say now it's kind of the standard to do like 3 weeks PTO. The
Yeah.
unlimited PTO thing was always confusing to me, and I didn't really like that when I had that in jobs. My preferred is when they're like, you get 20 days that you have to take off. That
Mm-hmm.
I
It
love.
feels good. Yeah.
Hmm.
It feels good when they tell you exactly, we want you to take these days off. Like you're
Yeah.
allotted these days. Because when you are on that, I call it the golden handcuff, which is
Hmm.
it sounds great, but you're really handcuffed to the job because you feel guilty when
Yep.
you take the PTO that's quote unquote unlimited.
Yeah.
So when I posted that, I got tons of messages. It's actually funny. I still have like 100 messages that I haven't
Oh my
responded to. And I'm
God.
usually like pretty on top of it, but it was like very people were, I mean, PTO is a huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Like we live our entire lives working and to only get 2 weeks out of an entire year to not be working,
It's so
that is
scary.
wild to me. But
Hmm.
I get a bunch of people from the UK that were like, I don't even understand this concept. Like we have to have at least 6 weeks off. Like there's no like we just have that, you
I'm
know?
so jealous. Yeah. They
It's
think we're
wild.
ridiculous.
I know, I know. But yeah, there were so many people messaging me saying, I'm so afraid to take PTO and I have unlimited. And
Hmm.
I was in a role like that. And I remember one time telling my boss, I didn't even ask because I was like, well, it's unlimited. I can just go. So
Hmm.
I remember just emailing him, hey, I'm going to be out like this day to this day. I'm going to Thailand. And he was like, oh, you've been taking like a lot of PTO. And I just responded with, it's unlimited, right? Like,
Yeah, that's the point.
yeah, what do you want from
But it
me?
does just it
And
feels the uncertainty is just mm.
yeah, and I don't understand. But on the flip side, like I have personal friends that work fully remote, but definitely still feel really tied to it because they only have 2 or 3 weeks of PTO, and it's
Right.
pretty strict because you have to be online. Or a lot of times they're
Hmm.
checking to see if like the mouse movement or the activity on your
Oh my
like
God.
Slack and things like that, right? So I think it's people are. I think with the companies going fully remote, there's been pros and cons for sure,
Yeah.
but I do think it's really important. There's one thing I do want to say from an advice standpoint is just that specifically when you ask about this stuff in the first interview, it can come across like that's all you care about.
Mm.
But between us, like between me, you listeners, it should be what you care about. But maybe just hold it off until like the second or third interview so you don't automatically make them think that that's all you care about. Because I interviewed someone recently and it was all he was asking about was the benefits and this and that. And I'm like, well, do you want to know anything about the role or do you
Right. Do you
just
care
care
about
about
the
that?
job? Like, or are you just trying to get in somewhere that's a comfy,
Right, right. Which I totally get. I totally
Yeah.
get, but just kind of keep it a little bit under wraps. So I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
it.
good advice. Don't come in
Yeah.
too hot with the PTO asks.
Right. No, totally. Okay, well, speaking of career advice, let's jump into our career column for the week. If you don't have results
or growth stats to put on your resume, what should you put on to show metrics? The other way that you can actually show metrics on your resume is to put something that I like to call activity metrics. So if your company hasn't given you KPIs or key performance indicators that you can put success metrics to, instead use activity metrics. And what that means is you're defining how much of something or how often something is happening. So if you are directing a team, how many team members? You can actually put 4 to 5 team members, and that would be a metric, an activity metric. If you're working on a project, how long was that project? What was the deadline? Things like that. So the project was 6 months or it was a 2-year project and you hit all the deadlines. That's showing an activity and also showing that you were successful in doing it. Can LinkedIn ATS read PDF format, or is Word better? I think she's specifically asking me about submitting your resume to the ATS. So whether that's a LinkedIn, Greenhouse, ADP, Bamboo, there's a lot of ATS systems that companies use. So when you actually submit the resume, what it's doing is it's parsing that resume. It's searching for keywords on your resume that match the actual job description, and that will show if you are a good candidate or not. So if you hear, oh, I'm not getting through ATS, or I need to tailor my resume to make sure ATS can pick it up, that's what we are talking about. So she's asking, should I use a PDF format or Word when sending it in? A PDF format never changes. So whatever the PDF is going to look like, that's what's going to look like on someone's phone, through the ATS, or any system. So my advice is always submit a PDF. The only reason you would send an editable version like a Word doc is if you're working directly with a hiring person or you're working with a recruiter and they want to maybe do some edits on their side to help you look better for the job. So then you would send in something that is editable. How to not be awkward during networking. I really wanted to talk about this one because it's okay. I just want to state it's perfectly fine to be awkward. It's supposed to be awkward. Networking is one of those things that's not comfortable for everybody. So if you're in person and you're networking, all it is asking questions, asking someone how they got to the job they got into, or asking them where they're from. Just approach someone. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel out of your comfort zone, and that's perfectly fine. So instead of asking yourself, how can I be less awkward? Just tell yourself, I'm going to do this, even if it's awkward.
Welcome back. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about our guest that's coming up. So she also has been through the corporate gamut of the burnout and all of that. So she transitioned from being corporate PR and working constantly. She even said in the interview that she was like running off of coffee and martinis, literally just
that like
super
gives me
stressed.
chills. That's horrible.
Right. And there's so many people in that situation. And that's who I work with, right? Is people pivoting out of these like super stressful jobs. So it was cool to hear her story. And she actually went back to school and got certified. And now she's a holistic nutritionist and talks a lot about it. But the reason I had her on is because she was personally my nutritionist and I worked with her. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So I ended up working with her. We did a lot of different testings, like blood testing, food sensitivity. I did one where I have to like poop into something and send that in. But you learn a lot about what's going on with your body. So
I want to do that. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I need to do it.
yeah, she'll talk all about it. I've already started ordering a few more things after speaking with her again. I'm like, oh, that reminds me, I have to get these things for my health.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was really cool, really interesting, and she has a lot of fun things to share. So let's get into the interview.
You know, the reason I had decided to do, make a change in like my entire career path was I had just worn myself raw, my hair was falling out, eczema all over my face. I wasn't healthy. I just knew that I had to help myself a lot more.
Hi, Christina.
Hi, Darci.
Welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. Thanks so much for coming on. Christina is a functional nutritionist. I was like so nervous to say the wrong thing. Functional nutritionist or holistic nutritionist.
Right.
But can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm born and raised in California. I grew up like out near rural area. I don't know Paso Robles, but way out there further. Have bounced around, went to college up in Northern California, got my degree in speech communication.
Interesting.
And, but I loved it. It was great. Lived in Santa Barbara for about 12 years, married there to my husband, who's a chiropractor. His name's Nate Shadle. And shout out to Dr. Shadle.
Yeah, I might need him.
And I've been in LA now for, I think, 9 years. I moved here in 2014.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then prior to becoming a functional nutritionist, what did you do? I think you worked in corporate, right?
I did.
Yeah.
And boutique public relations and like little marketing things. Like when I, after college, lived in Santa Barbara and I worked in radio. I sold radio advertising for like 3 years. That was like my first like big job for Clear Channel, which was super fun. And it actually fed into like my love of going to concerts because we got a lot of tickets to go see shows.
Nice.
And after that, I started, wanting to work more. Santa Barbara's such a small town that I wanted to work more with the individual businesses. So I kind of went out on my own and was doing like I guess marketing and PR, just kind of on my own. I guess I've always been kind of that entrepreneurial, or maybe it's I don't want to work for that guy anymore.
Right.
kind of spirit. But and then like I landed at another little boutique PR firm, and we had, a publicly traded company as a client and some other small firms, and that kind of got me into working in the auto industry because it was a supplier for like BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Rolls-Royce, and they used to do night vision. So we were doing like PR for this night vision technology, which is super cool.
Cool, yeah.
And that really got me loving the automotive industry. I was like, I want to do more in this industry. And it's a small one, so everyone knows everyone. It's great. So after doing that for a couple of years, my husband had always had a practice down here in LA. So I started looking around for potential places to maybe have another like step in my career, and found TrueCar, and they're right over here in Santa Monica, and they're publicly traded. I was hired to their corporate PR team as a social media manager, which is like a nonstop 24/7 type of job.
Yeah.
And
But I feel like a job everyone wants. Like, I feel like I get so many DMs of people wanting to work in social media.
Really?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. And I think it's just because it is such a hot topic right now and it's needed. Obviously, every company has social media. But what was your experience like in working in that?
I mean, I loved it. It's fast paced, and, it got me traveling a lot, it had good, that's upsides and downsides to that, as we all know. I mean, my manager would send me, my VP would send me out with I was basically like handling our CEO. So I would just travel with him, and he was very on the go, Scott Painter, going to conferences and everything. And I was just with him constantly, kind of talking about what he's up to, talking about our company in that aspect. And, it was fun. It was great. It was super fast paced, but like I said, there's upsides and downsides. The downsides were just, I never knew where I was half the time or what I was eating, or should I just have martinis and coffee for the day? Will that sustain me?
Hell yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does to a certain extent,
yeah.
And you're just like, okay, maybe I'll have some of these nuts that are in the kitchen. I'm healthy.
Yeah.
So
it was like super high stress, very fast paced.
Very high stress.
Yeah.
And again, like, you think you can keep up, but at this point I was kind of like late 30s too. And I think that, I could have transitioned to another role in that company, but I kind of had my fill of it, and left to go back to to work in like a PR firm.
Okay.
Which I did do here in LA too, and all different kinds of clients, more office setting, and loved that too. I love PR.
Yeah. I think you said that you listened to a little bit of the podcast, but I'm really big on salary transparency. And I was just curious, just for people who maybe want to find a career in PR and stuff, what were you making when you were finally about to, because you left from that company, right? The agency PR company?
Yeah.
The firm?
So
what were you making before you quit?
Way more money at TrueCar, first of all.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. Okay.
Which was great. So if we're going to talk about money, I would love to talk about the time
that's
that I
good
made
to know.
a ton.
Yeah.
Or at least in my mind, because
Right.
I had come from a smaller town, and, coming to TrueCar where there were like stock options and things like that too.
Yeah.
So, I think at that point I made $90,000 a year, which was great, and amazing benefits and all of that.
Yeah.
which I don't think I haven't really ever used.
Right? Because we don't know what they are. There's also that.
Yeah.
No one really sits you down and says like, here's the benefit package. Here's what you should be using or should, that you can call on and stuff. But that's a whole nother tangent that I have. But
well, they actually kind of did do that.
Did they? Oh,
the head of HR there she's actually a really great friend of mine now. And she would get the most obscure, like, benefits. I got into she was like, if you want to join Yoga Works, we have this deal there, so
I love her.
Yeah. Great, she's like, if you ever need in vitro fertilization, I was like, no, but thanks.
Right.
Like there was some great, interesting ones that I never would have thought of. But again, I used the Yoga Works one.
Yeah. Well, shout out to that because that's important. I feel like anyone that's in a corporate space, like they don't know as much about the benefits they should. And it needs to be like sat down and talked about. But like I said, it's a whole other tangent that I have because I think there's so many things there that aren't taken advantage of,
Right.
Okay. So then you were at, what year did you leave like a corporate position to start your own nutritionist company?
That was 2018. I think the end of 2018, I had, the reason I had decided to do, make a change in like my entire career path was I had just worn myself raw, like my hair was falling out, eczema all over my face. I wasn't healthy. I just knew that I had to help myself a lot more. And I have a girlfriend who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at like the age of, I think she was 26 or 27. And so she knew that she had to start managing her health a lot better. And she found this school called Nutritional Therapy Association. And she was like, hey, it was right around the time when I was just like over it all and just really wanting to maybe explore something else. And she's like, I'm going to the school. I'm like, me too.
Yeah.
So I decided to go to Nutritional Therapy Association and become a functional nutritional therapy practitioner.
Mouthful.
Yeah, it is. And, that led me to another, some more education in that area so that I could learn how to do like functional testing on people. So I'm also a restorative wellness practitioner. I can do stool testing and hormone testing, food sensitivities and things like that. And
she did it on me.
Yeah. And it's so interesting to me. And I've got, I'm so passionate about it that I love talking about it. I mean, it's hard to shut me up sometimes about it.
Oh, we'll get into it. I absolutely love, okay, so I found you through someone else I was following who was actually on the podcast, Caroline. Yeah, shout out. And I found you through her because I was already following her because she's Love and Loathing LA. So she posts about LA and she posts about you and you guys are friends and also that what you did. And I was kind of in that zone of like, I really want to just eat healthier. And I always like counted macros and I did the athletic thing that you do. And every time I had a nutritionist, it was because of weight gain or loss and going to the gym and eating calories. It was never really what are the ingredients and what's in it and that type of stuff. And so I was like, this seems perfect. Like everything you talked about, and I could tell how passionate you were and how much you like your knowledge was. And so, yeah, I hired you to be, to help me through that. And even like my experience, we did the food sensitivity testing, we did stool testing. I really want to talk to you more offline about hormone testing and things like that. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about what you do. And I know it's a lot probably, but the things that you're passionate about.
Yeah. I mean, I'm passionate about it and I love sharing the information. And, but the other side of that is, I work with like post or pre-me's, it's like, it used to be a way for me where I was like overthinking everything, and like not cooking for myself and just like heating stuff up from the freezer, and once you learn that, we've got to stop using convenience so much. Like convenience is our society's downfall in my mind. And I think, it's becoming more and more apparent, especially after like that whole pandemic that we went through, that we've got to take better care of ourselves. And so I really try to keep it super simple for anyone that I'm working with, knowing that they've got busy lives and they've got plenty of other things to do. And, it's stressful in their mind. And, maybe I try to slow people down as much as possible and be like, but this is a priority. Like, let's make healing and like nourishing yourself with real food a priority so that it doesn't become a stress or you feel like you don't have time for it.
Right.
So, and I think too, I really encourage getting curious about your body. You know, like if you've got something going on, if you've been burping for 5 years, like your body is trying to tell you something.
You know,
so
always something going on there.
Yeah. So it's like tuning in, taking those moments, and that really kind of leads into like that whole like meditation piece, like get in tune with yourself more and, you know, learn about your body. And I love using those tests because now I've got like hard data, you know, like coming from tech and auto. And we're just like, see, this is like, we've got numbers that we can show you now that you can see. It's like a window, a little snapshot of your life that you can look into. And, you know, mostly it's like, let's be preventative with this kind of stuff and prevent things down the line as we're older and like, you know, because then it's too late. You know, it's not too late. There's always something that we can do, but you know, I really try to.
Is nice.
Like be like, oh, you're 15. Well, let me tell you about your period.
Yeah,
because you know, like I wish I knew at that age some of the stuff that I know now that could have made my monthly thing happier. You know, and my gut. You know, if I would have just known that I shouldn't eat gluten for a long time ago. Probably, you know, I would have felt so much better now. I mean, it's so inflammatory and
Okay, I need to get into this because I love gluten. I'm a gluten girly, but I would say at this point, after meeting with you and working with you, I would say about 80% gluten free. I still enjoy my treats here and there, you know, still eat it, but I would say when I have the choice, I usually go gluten free, as long as the ingredients in the gluten free stuff is decent.
Exactly.
So I think it's such a hype thing now to be gluten free, and you hear the words gut health, all these things, and to me it was just so overwhelming. Like, can you break down just the simplicity of why, even if you don't have a quote unquote intolerance to gluten, like why it would be bad for you to eat?
Well, I mean, let's start. There's a couple of reasons that I always hit on, and the first one is in this country. So like people are always like, I go to Italy and I eat pasta and I feel fine. Okay, great. They farm differently than we do here in this country. They don't spray crops with, I mean, it's called Roundup, but the active ingredient in that is glyphosate, which is toxic. I mean, cancerous, toxic. And, you know, if we tested all of our, you know, blood here right now, there would be traces of it in our blood because it's unavoidable. So what I just try to do is be like, hey, let's just recognize that this is a thing. Let's not ignore that because it just is what it is. Like we spray our shit with glyphosate. And so, okay, then it goes to the mills or whatever, and we're all just kind of eating like traces of this poison. So that's number one. We want to, you know, limit the amount of poisons that we expose ourselves to, and that's a biggie. The second one is our bodies, you know, aren't really designed to eat this. You know, we live in these like ancestral bodies that we should just pretty much be eating meats, maybe some fruit and honey. I mean, I'm not carnivore. I'm not pushing that. I love vegetables, love some fruit too. But our bodies don't digest it as well as like, you know, people think. You know, it's easy, we think, because it's all refined. Now it's a powder, but it came from like this wheat, like grass, basically. So in our bodies, our intestines, they're one cell wall thick. They're so delicate and they're easily scratched, scraped up, all of those kinds of things. And if you've heard of leaky gut, which I'm sure people have heard it, it's getting buzzy, just like gut health and gluten-free. But leaky gut is where you've got stuff leaking from your intestines into your bloodstream, and that leads to inflammatory states. And if you just constantly do that, you're in a state of now chronic inflammation, and your body can hold on to weight. You can get more diseases that way. You get sick more if you're just chronically inflamed. And so again, like we just want to limit our exposure to things that create disease states or the potential for a disease state in our body. And there is an actual protein in wheat. It's called gliadin. And that is, you know, our body can create antibodies against that. So one of the markers on the GI map stool test that I run is called an anti-gliadin IgA, which is an antibody that you can see if your body creates antibodies against gluten.
Okay.
So, I mean, that one right there is, you know, I've never seen it at zero for not a single person. So, you know, everyone's got a slight gluten sensitivity. It's called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. You're not celiac in the way that like you would be really sick if you ate it, but like at a low level, everyone's kind of got that. So again, like that's that hard data that you learn about your body when you work with me or someone like me, and you get to see that kind of stuff. So I say informed consent. It's something you know now, and if you're like give me that freaking pizza.
Yeah.
I'm eating it. Damn it, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Fine, do it. There's also little things that you can do to mitigate the damage caused by that. You know, there's enzymes that you can take. And I love supplements. So, you know, there's always something that you can take to help your body out. And I think that, you know, the more we know about that, that's optimal living to me. It's like, you know, I don't want to just kind of like I want to thrive. And that's the kind of people that I think get attracted to working with me too. But,
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense with the gluten, or
Right. Yeah.
scares you back out of eating it.
Right. I know. I'm sorry. One of the coolest things I learned from you, and I don't do a good job of explaining it, so I'll have you explain it. But I mix like salt in my water in the mornings and have that like right when I wake up before my coffee. I know, because I used to just drink coffee on an empty stomach and then go throughout my day and then have a snack here and there. So walk us through that little salt trick, because I feel like that's an easy one, you know, so that anyone can implement.
Yeah. And it's cheap. I mean, electrolytes are kind of another thing that's getting super buzzy, and there's all kinds of companies making them, and now we think that it's a thing we have to buy and like go out and get in packages. But
it's just salt.
It's salt. It's just high quality salt. So, you know, whether it's like a pink salt from Pakistan or
I use a
really
Himalayan.
high quality. We have a salt mine here in the US, and Redmond's is the company that mines it, and the salt that comes from there is super mineral rich. Like it's like peach colored, and it's got like little veins looking things in there. So I have my clients order from them. They have these like giant salt rocks, and you just plop one of those in a jar and cover it with filtered water and keep it, you know, I call it the kitchen apothecary. And now you've got something to help your body replenish minerals, like the ones that we need the most. I mean, we need minerals to literally make our brain work, our muscles function, so many different things. And we need more of them when we, you know, are sick or sweating or whatever that. But overnight, our body detoxes and we wake up kind of dehydrated. So that habit is such a great one to be in. You're hydrating yourself, and you're hydrating yourself on a cellular level with electrolyte minerals.
Yeah.
So and then you can go to your coffee and go about your day. But if you have like hard workouts, you're super sweaty, more electrolytes. You're sick, more.
Yeah.
Constipated, more.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Don't do too much though, because that happened to me.
Well, yeah.
And it was a bad day. I don't remember. I think I took a packet of electrolytes and I had forgotten I took it. So then I still took my salt water, and then I went to the gym, and I'm at the gym and I'm like, this is happening. This is happening. So then okay, moving on. I made it out.
It flushes you right out. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk about poop.
I like talking about poop, because speaking of poop, I had the most embarrassing thing again happen to me at the gym. I walked. So you're supposed to change your shoes when you go to the gym, and I walked in, like, you know, you have your gym shoes, so you don't like mess up the floors.
Okay.
And I always do it, but I had washed my shoes prior, so I didn't have them. Long story short, I walked in, I had dog poop on my shoe. I didn't know. And so then I got dog poop like on the actual mat, like at the gym. And I had to go tell the coach, and it was the most embarrassing thing. I didn't go back for a week, and then I finally have started to show my face again. But anyways, speaking of poop,
horror story.
I had to tell a horror story because it was so bad and so embarrassing. I was like, I'm sorry, it's not mine, it's my dog's. Well, some dogs. And then, you know, when you just like keep talking like I'm doing now, it's like that.
Shit happens.
Right?
So, yeah.
But back to your interest in poop, is it? You're like, okay. I remember when I took the poop sample and stuff, I was like, it was so weird. You have to like package it up, send it in, whatever. And then when you look at it, what are you looking for? Like, you don't actually look at the poop. Sorry. Let's just make that clear.
That goes to the lab, and then I get results from the lab, which is,
Okay, then you get results from the lab. What are you looking for? Like, because isn't there like parasites and like different stuff like that you can find?
God, yeah. This test
What's like the gnarliest thing you've seen?
I mean, the things that are gnarly to me aren't necessarily gnarly to my clients, you know, because when I see like there's immune health markers on there, there's inflammation markers on there, there's digestive functionality markers on there that, you know, when I look at them, I'm like, ooh, like we've got to do some work here. But the thing that scares people the most is, like the pathogens that we pick up. But we're full of them. Everyone. There's never been a person that I haven't seen something, whether it's I've never seen worms really, but I think I could give myself some more years, and I'd probably see some. Parasites pop up a lot, and it's not just like a trendy do a parasite cleanse thing. No, like we get to
legit.
see. Yeah, this is a DNA sequence test, so even if there was parasites in there and they laid a couple eggs, we see it. So it's pretty cool.
I'm like, that's gross. You're like, it's really cool.
It's so cool to me. And then there's yeast. It's like a really hard thing to get rid of from the body. And we've all got some a little bit, but you know, the one that pops up, and it had popped up for me personally years ago, it was candida. And it is a, you know, you feel crappy when you have candida, and the signs and symptoms are there. I wish more people knew about those signs and symptoms so that they could be like, oh yeah, maybe I have that. Maybe I should look at my gut, because it's real hard to get rid of. I mean, because we feed it with our modern lifestyles. You know, alcohol feeds yeast, sugar feeds yeast, flour feeds yeast. So it's like, and yeast actually crosses our blood-brain barrier and makes us crave what it wants to eat. So, you know, it's like, if all we want is sugar all of the time and we're having sugar cravings, you might have a yeast overgrowth in your body. So that, to me, when I see those things, I'm like, scary. Okay, all right, we have to do an antifungal diet, which is cutting out all the things that feed it, which is no fun.
Ew,
but you know, if you look at the big, you know, if you're like, okay, let's try to kill this thing for 3 months in my body, and then I can go on with my life. But
what's the thing where if I get really drunk and then the next morning I'm craving like greasy foods and stuff like that? What is that?
Well, so when your liver overnight is trying to detox. Alcohol is a neurotoxin. I mean, it's not just a toxin, it's a neurotoxin. It really messes with us. We shouldn't drink too much. Don't get me wrong. I love a drink. I do. I keep it clear, and, you know, especially when you get closer to like perimenopause, menopause, alcohol's not as fun as anymore. Damn it. But it used to be real fun for me. But now I stick to like, all right, I'm just going to have, you know, maybe a martini. You know, if I'm out, I'm like, oh yeah, give me something fancy and clear and fun, or just like a clear tequila, you know, Blanco with soda water, so that you're not doing so much. It's the sugars and things like that. We all know that. Like, we shouldn't be drinking the sugariest margaritas. You know, maybe we don't all know that, but
right.
Just FYI, everyone.
Yeah.
The
and
sugar,
agave is still sugar.
Agave syrup, but not the agave from tequila.
No, I'm saying when they make the skinny margaritas with like agave syrup, it's still like, just and the sugar.
Oh yeah, and it's like one of the worst sugar.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, I think that's not everyone knows that, because the skinny, they make the like regular margaritas with the sweet and sour mix and stuff, and you know that's like full of sugar.
Yep.
So then when you say, oh, just make mine with the agave sweetener or agave syrup, I was like, oh, agave, that seems like a good one. Yeah, that seems like a good one. And no,
it's real close to high fructose corn syrup. And with that kind of stuff, you know, first of all, we all know we should avoid that. It used to be in everything, and now it's not, so yay, but it's still here and there.
Yeah.
But agave syrup is pretty close to that. And our liver, so this is now like why kids we see a lot of like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it's from stuff like that you know, gets into our body. And our liver is so important. I mean, it runs a lot of stuff. We should nourish it as much as possible. But when in the morning, so when you say like when I wake up in the morning, so that has a lot to do with blood sugar too. Like when your body is prioritizing detoxing alcohol from your body, there's hormones involved, you know? So when insulin is like, when your body is like, I need energy, you know, I spent this whole night detoxing alcohol, I'm dehydrated too, your body and your brain, you just want to like wake up and try to survive that next day. So for me, it used to be like burrito, like breakfast burrito. And so that's, I mean, these carbohydrates are that fast burning fuel that we need to run on. So our brain's smart, like it's smarter than us.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it is us, but smarter than what, you know, than like what we're thinking.
Clip.
Yeah,
our brain is smarter than us.
Just think about that one for a while. Yeah. But, you know, so in the morning, it's just like, it's trying to help your body survive with like some sort of fuel. And glucose is the fastest burning, I call it the cheap fuel, you know, that we need. But really, we should be going for like something that just helps us detox our liver, which is like something green, like go for like a green juice without the apple, you know. So get the green juice without apple juice in it, some chlorophyll, like things that just help your body further detox, rehydrate, and then like go for protein, you know, like yay breakfast burrito, but without the tortilla.
The tortilla and the cheese.
If you can,
the good stuff.
Believe me, I know it's not something that you want, and your body's like,
I consider myself a breakfast burrito connoisseur, and they're so good. Ryan and I both do, every time we just sub it out for chicken. So I do feel like that is better. And then obviously if there's a gluten-free tortilla option, I'll do it. But I just love a breakfast burrito. And especially when I'm hungover, I'm like, that is like what I crave. But I know it's like my brain saying like, you think you want this, but fuel. Get something better for yourself. So if you had to tell someone like one tip, like health wise through your journey, what you've learned, and maybe something simple, because obviously you know, I think simple is the easiest for people to kind of consume. What would you say? Like, what would be your one like biggest, like if you could shout it from the rooftop?
It's easy.
Thing?
Just watch your blood sugar.
Okay.
Keep it balanced throughout the day. So So, you know, our blood sugar goes up and down based on what we eat. And there's lots of things that spin off from that and can lead to like disease states later. And we all know that, like, we all know about type 2 diabetes, but there's so many things before that you know, enter into the picture, like insulin resistance. And we can talk about that too. But basically how it looks is eat balanced meals. Like, start your day out not with something starchy, sugary, even though that's our standard American thing, is like a coffee and a donut.
Right.
That's basically the worst thing for you. Like, you should start your day with protein, a little fat, and some fiber, you know, and that looks like, instead of a donut, an egg scramble, you know, like scramble some with a bunch of butter. Butter's delicious. So eat it. Scramble some eggs in there, scramble some veggies, whatever veggies you've got. You've started out your day, you know, balanced, because once you eat something like a donut or a bagel or whatever else, you know, is delicious from the coffee shop, you're putting yourself on this blood sugar roller coaster, which is, you know, again, it's cheap fuel and it burns quick. So we use it and we drop right back down. And an hour later, we're like, what else? Give me another thing. Give me another starchy, crunchy something. And then you're right back up. So you do that all day long. And by the afternoon, you're like, okay, now I just want coffee, you know? Lattes in the afternoon can mess with your sleep. Like, so if you can focus on one thing, breakfast, or lunch. If, you know, if you don't eat breakfast, fine, stay hydrated, add electrolytes, and then have a balanced lunch.
I think that's doable. I will say that is something I'm always like very cognizant of. And if I do want the croissant, or if I want something in the morning, I always will have like an egg with it or something with it. Definitely. So at least I feel like it's not just that thing, and I'm still adding some protein. So that's definitely something I've learned. But I have to admit, I am still drinking way too much caffeine. And I do know this, and I will sometime fix it. But my 2 to 3 p.m. double espresso is God's gift. I mean, that is just my happiness in life.
So then my next step with you would be like, we got to look at your adrenal glands. Like, we got to test your adrenal hormones, because you know, when we start messing with like our cortisol, so like when we feel low energy, like our cortisol has taken a dip. Cortisol is that hormone that like literally just like wakes us up in the morning. It opens our eyes. Yeah. You know, so once our eyes are open, and for some people, like, it's real hard in the morning because they're dysregulated and things like that. So, you know, by taking a look and trying to more optimize that cortisol rhythm, you have sustained energy throughout the day, and you don't start to like rely on that stuff. And if you just want something like warm and bitter tasting, I've got lots of swaps. You know, you can do like, yeah, I know. None of it sounds fun until you kind of, this is what I tell people. Picture yourself as a little old person. Like, what do you want that to be like? You know, because we are so in the moment and we're always just being or whatever, but we do still have to have some forethought, in the same way as like your last podcast guest that I listened to about financial, like thinking about yourself in that older time. Right. Because you don't want to be taking a bunch of pills, and like, you want to be like spry and fun and like going to play bridge or whatever old people do, you know? So, I mean, that's pickleball. Yeah, pickleball. Yeah. Anything fun that's like, you know, where you're not achy and old, and, you know, maybe some sort of preventable disease, like, you know, that you could have worked on when you were younger.
Yeah, but see, like, talking about that is so boring. Like, I'm a young go hard. I just wanna live fast, die young, you know. Yeah. But no, I'm kidding, kind of. But I did the same thing. Right? It's like, I do think about that stuff, and I know it's there, and I know it's a possibility, but I just also, I'm like, I don't want to. Right? It's like, I don't want to have to think about that, but it's so true. I do, especially me personally, because if I can have kids, it's going to be way later. And I do want to be able to be spry and be there for my kids and play with them and bend down and do all the things, right? And I know that starts with my health and what I'm putting into my body, not just being able to go to the gym for 2 to 3 hours a day and call that good. Right. Because that's usually what I do. I'm just like, okay, well, I'll just work out a bunch and that's good enough.
Health.
Yeah, right? Like, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's, again, like, back to like my career, like, that's exactly what I used to think, you know, like, and it's like, I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of stuff too, you know, and that thinking is what got me to a place where I was like, just unwell, you know, and my body was sending me all of these signals. And, you know, when you get to a place where you're like that, all you want is to feel better. All you want is health again. And like that's literally the only thing you think about is like, I don't want my skin. I wanted to wear makeup. I literally didn't for like probably 7-8 months, not a stitch of makeup on just mascara.
Yeah.
Because life. But it was because I couldn't, like, everything was irritating me. And I thought it was the outside in type thing. And then I was like, well, maybe I should be vegan. Maybe I should, all of those things that I think everyone goes through when things start happening in your body, when really we just have to take it back to
basics.
Basics, like ground zero, like don't overthink.
Yeah.
It's simpler than you think.
Yeah.
But that's why I call myself an accountability buddy, because it's hard. It's not easy. It's not flip a switch and everything changes and now you've got new fresh habits.
Right.
It's, let me help you like work through all of the little things that get in your way, like going out. Like that's so hard. Like we all love to go out, but there's very few restaurants that are like, I've got your health in mind.
Yes,
So it's kind of just being mindful and learning how to, when you get there, be like, let me look at the menu before I go maybe and check it out. Be like, oh yeah, that steak. And like, I'll get a side of vegetables, big old pile of veggies and a steak. And if people are like food shaming you for not getting the pasta or the pizza, well then what kind of life is this?
Yeah.
No, and it's just being responsible for yourself and taking on that, like having that future vision of,
right,
I want to feel healthy. I want clear skin, whatever it is. Most people, it's weight. They're just like, I just want to be thinner. Like, so whatever it is, whatever motivates you.
Totally. Yeah. And if people want to learn more about what you do and just soak in all of the wonderful information that you provide, where can they find you?
I put so much stuff on my Instagram. I really do.
She really does. I love it.
Thank you. That's at Side Benefits Nutrition. Side benefits versus side effects, so like these are all the side benefits. Side Benefits Nutrition. And I've also got, I'm launching a course soon. I'm writing it about perimenopause and menopause, which is, so I have a newsletter that I put out weekly. And again, like I'm really passionate about sharing information. And
your newsletter is no joke. I subscribe to it. It's really good. Like you put like a lot of effort and information into there. So sorry, I just had to plug that.
Thank you so much.
You really do. Yeah.
I do, because while even if I'm working one-on-one with people, it's impossible to share all of the things that I want to share with them.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, hey, have we ever thought about this thing? And I'll just make that the topic of the week, and my content on my Instagram will usually reflect that too. So yeah, like right now I've got, if you go to my page and you click on like the links, there will be a free download that I've got on there. And it's, toxins in our home, like how to make your home, hormone safe.
Yeah.
Because it's the things like that we don't even think about, like maybe Glade plugins. Please don't use those, people. Or burning candles with all the windows shut and sitting right over it. Like breathing all that in will F up your hormones big time. So, little things like that, or swapping out your cookware like one by one. I know it's pricey, but doing little things like that so that again, down the line, you're not like, why am I so sick? How do I get back to healthy?
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and like talking all about what you do. It's so fascinating, and I loved working with you, and I know anyone else would too. So you really know your shit, and I appreciate that. But yeah, thank you so much. And is there anything else you'd want to share, or Side Benefits Nutrition, right?
Side Benefits Nutrition.
Cool.
I think that's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darci.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks for listening to That Onomy podcast. Onomy is a creator-led educational platform that teaches you the things you wished you learned in school so you can thrive in adulthood. Onomy lessons are completely free, and they're taught by some of your favorite creators from around the internet. Head to onomy.co to start learning about things like budgeting, investing, taxes, how to thrive in your relationships, how to find your dream job, and so much more. That's onomy.co, onomy.co. See you there.